Hello and welcome back to Bookish, and welcome back to my Saturday Hodgepodge, my weekly wrap-up of reading, booktube things, bookish things, book-adjacent things, pretty much anything I want to talk about. I think this might set a record for the shortest Saturday Hodgepodge. I don't have a whole lot to talk about, but what I have to talk about seems kind of big. So I'm going to start off by talking about the kind of biggest thing in the nerdy, booktube, bookish, book world, and that was the release of Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power series. The first two episodes were released on Amazon on Thursday night here in Texas, and I watched them, and I thought I would film a reaction to today. Today's Friday. As you know, I filmed these on Friday. I put them up on Saturday, and so I wanted to go ahead and get my reaction out there to The Rings of Power. So, you know, if you're around my age, and notice I'm not saying I'm old, but if you're around my age and you read the Lord of the Rings books, the trilogy in the 70s when you were a teenager or when you were a young person or whatever, you probably read those books like I did and thought they could never make a movie that would give the impression or be able to capture what reading these books is like. And then, you know, surprise, surprise, Peter Jackson came along in the 2000s and made exactly those movies. You know, they're not perfect. They're not 100% true to the stories. They certainly leave out a lot of stuff, which, you know, nerds like me have a tendency to complain about, but they really did capture, I think, kind of the joy and the experience of reading those books and really brought them to life. And so, you know, maybe like me, you were a bit disappointed with the Hobbit, I don't know, trilogy, septology, whatever the heck it was, and Jackson adding things to that, which I thought twisted the story pretty much out of shape, despite some good elements in there. And so if that's who you were, and if you were like me and thinking what I thought, you approached the Rings of Power television series, which is planned for a really long time. I didn't realize till I was reading about it yesterday. You approached the Rings of Power series with probably a fair bit of trepidation, worried that it would be terrible, worried that it would, you know, not do any of the things you wanted to do, worried that it would look a little cheesy. Maybe you had all those worries. I certainly had them too. So only 2 episodes in, there are a couple things I'll say. The first thing I'll say is that first episode felt kind of slow. There are a lot of characters, a lot of situations, trying to introduce as many of the different races of Middle-earth as possible, with some kind of, you know, touching on some of the elements of the Silmarillion, and trying to kind of bring it all together in one episode. And that, I thought, made that episode relatively slow. I thought it looked pretty good. There were points where, you know, the CGI was clearly CGI. There were points where I thought the costumes were not quite, I don't know, up to what I would want, particularly with the Harfoots. I thought their costuming was a little, I don't know, something about it didn't strike me right, didn't seem like it was actually real. And one of the things I thought was great about the Peter Jackson movies was that even though you knew it wasn't real, there were very few moments where, you know, something, you looked at a prop or something they were using or a costume and you thought, well, that's clearly fake, you know. And I felt that way occasionally in The Rings of Power. The second episode I thought was, you know, much more involved, much more exciting. In the second episode, we, you know, see the dwarves at Khazad Dûm, and I thought that was really interesting. The way they imagined that looking and that society working, I thought was pretty good. Overall, I'm going to say I'm still reserving judgment about whether or not I think the series will be good or the series will be bad. What I will say is the series is not what I thought it was going to be. So, as foolish as this may sound, I didn't realize the series was going to be tell one continuous story using characters from Tolkien, which you can find in the appendices to the Lord of the Rings trilogy, and you can find in part of the Silmarillion, and I think in some of the unfinished tales. I thought it would take episodes, like take those individual stories and film each one of those individual stories, and then in some way connect them to the larger story of the Lord of the Rings. And so you wouldn't have this through-line narrative. Each episode, or maybe each couple of episodes, would be a story unto themselves. So I have to say I was a little disappointed in that, because to me, I thought that would stick closer to the Tolkien source material. But what they've done instead is they have these characters whose names, many of which you will recognize, and intentionally you'll recognize, who they're trying to build this story about what happens in Middle-earth before The Lord of the Rings actually begins. And I think that's fine. Like I said, I'm reserving judgment. I'm a little more optimistic than I was. That's kind of my 2 cents on the Lord of the Rings of Power series so far. We'll see how it goes. So the other thing I wanted to talk about today was last week on BookTube, there were a series of videos about why we read or why I read. Aaron Facer at his channel did a video that was inspired by a video on Mark at Book Time with Elvis's channel, and he called his video "Why We Read." Now, if you don't follow Aaron's channel, you definitely should, and if you do, you'll know how rare it is for him to kind of talk about something other than actually talking about books. You know, if you're one of those people who doesn't like what I'm doing right now and just wants people to shut up and talk about books, well, that might be the channel for you. Please go check him out. But he did a video about why we read, which I thought was really interesting. And then Mark from Book Time and Elvis did a response video to that video called Why I Read. And that kind of like sparked my interest in thinking about, you know, why I read. So I spent kind of a week, not every moment of the week, I spent this week kind of thinking about why I read. And I don't think there's anything particularly profound about the reasons I read, but I did want to share them with you. So the first reason I read, I have 3 reasons I read, I think. The first reason is to know. I like knowing things. I like knowing facts. I particularly like knowing about things, in all honesty, that other people don't know a lot about. I think that's because I'm at heart just a know-it-all. I think I may have mentioned to you before, in my family, when somebody's talking about something and they're wondering why, if I know the reason or I know the answer or I know something about it, I usually stop and ask, do you want me to tell you what I know? So that I don't just always know it all, you know, coming up with the know-it-all stuff, but it still comes off that way. I like knowing. I like being a know-it-all. I like being a know-it-all even when I don't say, oh, I know why that is. You know, if you've been in a Voxer group with me, of a read-along or something, you know, you sense these elements in my responses, which is kind of obnoxious, but I just like knowing. I'm curious. I want to know. I want to know, you know, the plots of novels that are famous. I want to know the plots of novels that are not famous. I want to know about writers. I want to know about history. I want to know about, you know, science. I want to know. And so I read as a primary way of finding out. Of knowing on a level deeper than I think you could know just by doing a Google search or reading a Wikipedia article. Not that those things aren't great. So the second reason I think I read is to connect. I read to connect to the experiences of other people. And without getting too cheesy on this, particularly in fiction or nonfiction that's about people, I think one of the real things that attracts me to that is the opportunity to kind of connect with the minds of other people in the past, the writer, through the characters that they create in the novel or through the discussion of their own experiences, to create that connection where I go, oh, I felt that, or I've thought that, or I understand that, or I can empathize with that, or even if it's, I don't know anything about that, but I feel like I'm learning something about that. You know, that kind of connection, I think, is kind of the ennobling aspect of reading. You know, it makes us all more aware of people, other people, and allows us to get outside of our own minds and our own thoughts. And the third reason I read is just for joy. I had a comment about this. If I can remember, I'll put the picture of the comment. I had a comment about this on my last video, on my August wrap-up. Somebody was talking about how they had reread The Scarlet Letter and just loved it, and how they had that moment of real kind of joy of discovery and understanding that they loved something that they didn't think they were going to like. And to be honest with you, that kind of joy is why I read. To find that great book, to find that kind of aha moment, that joy of, even if it's just joy in getting to experience how something was written, and to think about how the author put all that together, or just joy in the relationship with the characters, whatever it is, you know, I read for joy. And that's one of the things that keeps me reading, one of the things I think which keeps me wanting to read books by authors I've never read before, or from countries I've never read before, to have that kind of aha moment and to feel that kind of joy, that almost kind of like surprise that somebody was able to make me feel this way, or somebody was able to create a story in this way. Those are the reasons why I read. Okay, so the other thing is, and I suspect one reason a lot of people may be here, is to find out the results of the most 80s music song contest. So here we go. Drum roll, please. The winner of the most 80s music contest that I conducted on my channel, on my community page, over weeks of voting and narrowing down from 55 songs to 4 and now 1. The winner of the most 80s music contest was Take On Me by a-ha. Now, in that final grouping, it got 31% of the vote, and Sweet Dreams by the Eurythmics got 29%. It was really close. It was so close that I thought for a moment about making a finals group with just those two songs so that our winner would be a song that had been chosen by the majority, but that's not what I plan to do, so I'm just going to go with Take On Me by a-ha, and I thought about singing part of it, and I thought I'll probably get a copyright strike, you know, because obviously I can sing as well as a lead singer from a-ha, so I'm not going to sing. I don't want a copyright strike. I don't want my video to be demonetized, so I'm not going to sing it, but I was kind of pleased by that. I'll be honest with you, I think I might have said this in the beginning, a lot of 80s music I really don't like, and in particular, the 80s music that's most popular is the music that I don't like. So, you know, the songs on this list, I'll be honest with you, Take On Me is probably the one that I like the most, and the one I would have voted for. By the way, the two songs I nominated, go on, Zelda. Hey, Zelda, go on. Hey, you guys, go on. Zelda, go on. Don't make me get up, please. Can you be quiet? If you can be quiet, you can stay. The two songs I nominated, Melt With You by Modern English and La 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 Love You by the Pat Travers Group, really did poorly. So I didn't have really a dog in the fight at all, and so I was really entertained. And thank you to everybody who participated in voting and caring about that contest. It was a lot of fun for me to do, and I hope most people are not too dissatisfied with the answers. So also I wanted to just real quickly touch on my weekly reading, so I did something about books. Since I did my wrap-up and the month ended on Wednesday, I did my wrap-up on the 1st, which was Thursday. I filmed that yesterday. I haven't read a whole lot. I'm still reading Joseph Anton, a memoir, Salman Rushie's memoir of his time in hiding during the fatwa over a period, I think, 9 years. I'm still reading that, and I did pick up my first new read of September, and that's The Colony by Audrey Mcgee, which is nominated for, or it's on the Booker Prize long list. I think the short list comes out next week. Yesterday I read about 115 pages, and given that I'm a slow reader, that might surprise you, but if you've read this book, you know why it reads really quickly. And I will say that in the first 75 pages, I was loving it, and now I'm kind of thinking, how's this all going to work? Anyway, so there you go. That's my reading, and really that's the entire Saturday Hodgepodge, which now feels like it was longer than I thought it was going to be. Anyway, I look forward to your comments in the comment section below, and as always, thank you for watching.